This is Erika Bongo, and welcome to my video discussing the structure, symptoms, transmission, and other effects from the influenza virus. The influenza virus is an infectious disease that specifically targets the upper respiratory tract of the human body. This microbe is part of the Orthomyxoviridae with a negative stranded RNA genome. Orthomyxoviridae comes from the Greek word myxa, meaning mucus. There are three types of the influenza virus, which is influenza virus type A, found in various warm-blooded birds and mammals, and influenza virus type B and C, which are human pathogens. The influenza virus is also referred to as Hippocrates 412 BC, with the structure consisting of a lipid bilayer containing hemagglutinin and neuraminidase spikes, a matrix protein membrane, and the core filled with RNA. The glycoprotein hemagglutinin on the surface of the influenza virus is vital due to the fact that it moderates the absorption and penetration of the virus into other host cells. The process of influenza virus RNA replication falls under two main steps, which is the synthesis of template RNAs into full-length copies of virion RNAs and imitating these template RNAs into virion RNAs. Enveloped viruses, such as the influenza virus, contains receptor-binding proteins to let the virus bind to host respiratory cells via the cell membrane. For the influenza virus, the glycoprotein receptor interactions is hemagglutinin, which binds celiac acid. The cellular process can also be more complex, in which the influenza virus can infect cells in which clathrin-coated vesicle transports, which is a protein that is important to the formation of coated vesicles, gets blocked. Since the influenza virus is a negative stranded RNA virus, entry into another host cell occurs through endosomes. The viral hemagglutinin binds to celiac acid containing glycoproteins or even glycolipids. Viruses incorporated by clathrin-coated pits are transported by way of the early endosomes to the late endosomes. The low pH levels then activates the M2 protein ion channel that is in the viral membrane, which permits the internal capsid to be acidified. The hemagglutinin moderated fusion happens amidst the viral envelope and the endosomal membrane, which was set in motion by low pH levels. Viral ribonucleotides, otherwise known as RNPS, separate from each other, bind and move through NPS into the nucleus. The import of viruses and capsid into the nucleus of the genome of the influenza virus are composed within 8 subgenomic RNAs that are individually separated into ribonucleoprotein complexes. When these ribonucleoprotein complex packages are discharged into the nucleus, they are imported into the nucleus after viral membrane fusion and interact with importing beta cells. The influenza virus signs and symptoms can vary according to the victim, as they may receive symptoms such as a fever, malaise, URT symptoms, headache, cough, and much more. From a clinical perspective, studies have proven that influenza virus with associated flu-like illness were among the leading causes of viral pneumonia. Yet it is vital to understand that the influenza virus is different from the respiratory virus because the influenza virus is incorporated with a higher morbidity and mortality rate. On the current status of influenza vaccinations, there are two main types, which is the CAV and the IV vaccination. The CAV vaccine, which is the cold adapted vaccine, which is given intranasally and orally, and the inactivated vaccine delivered subcutaneously or intramuscularly, which is an injection directly into the muscle. The influenza virus vaccine also has to be remade and reformulated almost annually to take account of the constant changing virus. Overall, millions of doses of inactivated influenza vaccine are administered yearly and have resulted in safe and tolerant reports with low number of adverse reactions. Simple habits and taking these vaccines can help prevent yourself from getting the influenza virus or prevent your condition from worsening. It is important to stay home when sick, to cover your mouth and nose, avoid close contact, avoid touching nose and mouth and eyes, and practice good health habits such as exercising and eating the right foods. It is important to treat the influenza virus seriously and once infected to seek treatment immediately. Complications such as secondary bacterial infection, pneumonia, and bronchitis may become a future complication from the influenza virus. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video based on the infectious disease commonly known as the influenza virus. I hope you were able to learn something new about this microbe, as well as the process of how viruses transmit and have an effect on the human body.